Hello, Wilson parents and students. I just wanted to take this opportunity to go over a few rules and procedures as we look forward to returning to school full-time starting March 1st. So March 1st, we will be going to school Monday through Friday from 7:50 a.m. until 2:38 p.m. I wanted to remind you that school starts at 7:50, but that's still the same as it is now, and the doors will continue to open at 7:40. We will not let students in before that. There will not be breakfast served, but you can pick up breakfast on Wednesdays at the high school still. That's going to go on throughout the rest of the school year as far as I know. Therefore, if you want to pick up breakfast for the week, you can attend that opportunity, go to Roosevelt and pick up the breakfast for the week. And I also believe it's lunch as well, although lunches will also be served here at school. Students should enter the same doors they are currently entering now, which would be 6th graders are entering off 15th Street, the south doors. The 7th graders are entering at the gym doors, and the 8th graders are entering the main doors and the north doors off 15th Street. That will continue to be the same. When students come to school, they can go directly to their first hour class, or if they need to put items in their locker, they can go to their locker. I know that some students were preferring not to go to their locker. We are allowing backpacks. We prefer no coats. If you do come with a coat, I know some students do not. If they come with a coat, they should put that in the locker. If they don't come with a coat and they just want to take their backpack to class, that is fine. They can go directly to first hour. Speaking of lockers, I just want to remind students that they should only be going to their lockers at the start of the day and the end of the day, and if they need to stop there before lunch. Now, a lot of students don't need to stop there because they eat in the lunchroom. They don't bring a bag lunch. However, we were having students take their cell phones and put them in their lockers as well. We've changed our mind on that. We're allowing students to keep their phones on them or in their backpack, but we cannot see or hear them. If we see them or hear them, unfortunately, there will be a consequence. So please make sure students are reminded of that. Students, if you're listening to this, make sure you keep your phones off and in your backpack or in your pocket until lunchtime. This way, students don't have to go get their phones out of the locker before lunch, and they don't have to go put them away after lunch. So we're trying to avoid going to the lockers if it's unnecessary. The next item, I just want to remind students when they're dismissed, they should leave the doors that are closest to their 7th hour or closest to their locker, because some students will have to go to their lockers after school. There will be a short interval at dismissal time. Students will get out a couple of minutes apart, so it will be staggered. 6th graders will get out a couple minutes later, the 7th graders will get out, and then a few minutes later the 8th graders will get out. I know that parents also have some questions, maybe even some concerns about classroom sizes or lunch procedures, so I definitely want to touch on those two items. And please remember that after I go through all of these, if you have any remaining questions, or maybe you would like to speak with me about some ideas for your child because they are experiencing a little bit of anxiety about returning or eating at a lunch table, please contact me. Do not hesitate, and we will work something out. But let me just jump into the classroom. There will be, at this time, anywhere between 20 and 25 students. We're hoping that will be the highest class size. We are separating students at least 3 feet apart. That is the recommendation. It's not mandatory, but we are going to try to stick with that as much as possible, even 6 feet when possible. Some teachers may move to bigger classrooms, or we might find a way that we can get those class sizes down a little bit. But hopefully there will be no more than 25 students in a classroom at a time, and they will be separated by 3 feet as much as possible. As far as the lunchroom goes, we have about 40 tables. 6 to 8 students should be seated at those tables. That would be 2 long tables, 4 on this side, 4 on the other side. And at this time, we feel like that will work well. If we need more space, then we can also use our library or some other location. If there's a student who is concerned about the location where they are eating, they don't feel comfortable removing their mask and sitting that close to another person, please contact me. And like I said, I'm always willing to try to accommodate in any way I can to make sure all students feel safe and comfortable. Speaking of classrooms, I know some students have band and they have instruments. The band teachers do have an area where students will now start keeping their instruments, so they won't have to put those in the locker and continue to go to lockers in between classes, because as pointed out earlier, students will only go to their lockers to start the day, to end the day, and then if necessary at lunchtime. There will be one other time that students may have to go to their locker, but that would be very few students at a time, and that would be after swimming. The gym teachers do plan on opening the pool and utilizing that space, and when that happens, those will be the only students that go into the locker room. Students are not using the locker rooms at this time. They do not change for gym class at this time, but obviously when the pool's used, they will use the locker room. Students will have wet bathing suits, and they will be able to take those to their lockers. We are allowing backpacks at this time. Usually we don't, but like I said, because students do not always feel comfortable going to their locker, we are allowing backpacks at this time. And I mentioned the cell phones. They can keep them on them as long as we don't see or hear them, and then they can use them at lunchtime. So if a student is not following the rules, they will unfortunately have to turn their phone into the office every morning, and they won't have the luxury of having their cell phone at lunchtime. So I'm hoping that students can follow these rules, make sure they take advantage of being able to have those at lunchtime.
Good morning, parents of our students at Wilson. I know Mrs. McCooch made a video going over a lot of procedures for our return to full-day school starting March 1st. I just want to go over a couple of rules that I want you to kind of reinforce with your children. With more students in the building, we need to make sure that the students continue to keep the proper spacing. I know at middle school, a lot of the issues that we deal with are a lot of hands-on type thing. And I'm going to be honest with you, with the hybrid schedule that we had, the hands-on was almost non-existent. The students did a great job. All right, so the concern is, we get more kids in here, that there's going to be a hands-on. We're going to have zero tolerance for any of that type of behavior. So again, please reinforce with your children to just basically continue what they've been doing up until now. All right, so that should not change. The other thing, the dress code, just we had a little rough go at it when we came back from remote. With the colored hair and the jeans and all that, but I think we've kind of got that ironed out. Just reinforce that with your children, and we really don't need them coming down to the office for things like that when they should know the rules by now. All right. The other thing I want you to reinforce with your children is the cell phone issue. As you know, we've always had the students put their phones in their lockers before they go to class. With the new procedures, I know Mrs. McCooch talked about, students are now going to be allowed to have their backpacks with them in class. And we really don't want them going to their lockers during the course of the day. So normally when I tell the kids put power off their cell phones, put them in their lockers, we're going to let the kids have their phones, all right, in their backpacks or whatever. But just, again, reinforce with them that the phone needs to be turned off. And they cannot use it. If it goes off and the teacher, or if they're caught using it, it's going to end up in the office, and after, a couple offenses, then they have to turn it into the office every morning before they go to class. And then they're going to lose that privilege of using their phone during the lunches. Okay, so again, reinforce that with them. Just power it off, keep it in the backpack. The other thing is we really have to enforce the mask rule. Again, I think the students have done an outstanding job with this, and I know there's a tendency where I see some kids where I see that mask below the nose. Just again, the nose and mouth needs to be covered. All right, that's imperative if we want this to work. Okay, and again, students have been doing a great job with it, but if we're going to find students and it's going to be the same students, continuing to violate this, they're going to get consequences for that. All right, and again, we don't want them to wreck it for everybody else. Maybe it might mean that if they can't follow that rule, that maybe they might have to go do virtual. All right, because again, we don't want a few students messing this up for everybody else. All right, so again. Just reinforce these things with your kids, and again, I'm positive that this is going to work. I've been waiting so long to get these kids back here. All right, so thank you for your time.
So I covered quite a few topics here, although I know there are some of you who may still have some questions or concerns remaining, and I ask that you please send me an email so I can address those items, or maybe you would like to come in and meet with me so that I can go over some things and maybe make you feel comfortable. If necessary, I could even show you around the school. Mr. Jazy or I could do that. So again, don't hesitate to reach out to me. We want to make sure that everyone is excited and comfortable about returning to school. And we look forward to seeing all the students together in the hallways come March 1st. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this. And again, don't hesitate to reach out to me. Thank you.